Hey, moon lovers, welcome to another episode of All Things Moon with myself, Kelly Jones. And today, you'll be pleased to know that this is the last episode that will be recorded with my old internet. So that's arriving this coming Thursday. Today is Saturday, the 3rd of August, and it is a dark moon day. But it is Leo season. So even though dark moon days are generally for resting and taking it easy, which I have been doing, I've had a nice pampering bath this morning to get myself all ready. I did a nice 40-minute meditation and yoga session on my mat. So I am fully prepared to deal with the technology. And I couldn't seem to manage to get my iPhone to work as a camera today, but hey, here I am. And hopefully by the next episode, we won't be talking about all things technology anymore. But, we'll see. We've got some interesting things coming up which could affect that. But as I said, yes, we are on a dark moon day today. So the dark moon day is when the moon completely disappears before it becomes new again. So we will have a lovely new moon in Leo tomorrow. And we've got something new happening tomorrow. So we actually have one of Tom's family members, or some of his family members, coming to visit us in Chelmsford, which ever since I've known him, that is an absolute first. So, things are changing. And when we look to see what houses in our birth charts, things have been changing and shifting, then for Tom, definitely one of those is getting a better relationship with his family. So that's something new and joyful that's going to be happening tomorrow. And luckily we planned it for tomorrow because the day after, on the 5th, Mercury turns retrograde. So Mercury is currently in the sign of Virgo. So it's going to be retrograde in Virgo for a little while. But as we know, so if you think of retrograde, like if you are pulled up you're sitting in a train and the train stops and another train goes past, you get that feeling of going backwards. That is what a retrograde is like. So because everything keeps moving, but Mercury has stationed, it will appear like everything is going backwards. So Mercury is going to start retrograde in Virgo, and then he's going to come back in to Leo. So we're going to have the Mercury retrograde energy. Remember, Mercury is the mind. It's also the ruler of Virgo. So its effects will be stronger while it's in that Virgo area. And it's all to do with thought and the mind. But Virgo is Earth, so it has a very different energy to when Mercury is in Gemini, which is much more, fast thoughts, fast thinking, whereas Virgo is much more about, perfectionism. So maybe some time to reflect on perfectionism as Mercury turns retrograde. And remember, it's to do with how we communicate. It's to do with things like travel and so our devices and technology and things like that can seem to go a little wrong. But, it's not always, as I always say, it's not against us. It's for us in some way. So rather than dreading these times as being something awful, we will create that for ourselves if that's what we're expecting. So if we look at this Mercury retrograde time as a time to redo, review, reflect, reinvent, all of those kind of things. And particularly around Virgo is to do with our health. So we could be looking at ways to review what we're doing for ourselves and our well-being. So that for me is interesting because this little period of time is just before I'm going to be starting some new classes at a brand new studio in September. So it's a chance for me to have a look at my teaching style, get up to date, maybe do some revision to remind myself. So one of the things that the owner of this studio has offered to us is to update our first aid training. And I definitely need a refresh around that because it's been a really long time. Something I hadn't thought of, but it's come up as an opportunity. So I'm going to be taking that opportunity to do that. So tomorrow we have this much kinder new moon. So enjoy this time, make the most of it, because we've had quite a lot of, harsh energies, quite intense, a feeling of battle and challenge and that Capricorn getting up the mountain. But this is Leo, and Leo is a much more playful, put yourself out there energy. So I'm going to be using this part of this dark moon day to be indoors, record this podcast for you, and then I'm going to go and paint my nails, work out what I'm going to wear, be kind to myself, do some self-care, and then I'm going to go out tonight because it is one of my lovely Leo friends' birthday and we're going to go for a dance. So I'm going to use that energy to have some joy and play time. So what else have we got going on? As well as Mercury turning retrograde tomorrow, on Monday, on the 5th, we also have Venus moving into the sign of Virgo. So we've got Mercury there, we've got Venus there in Virgo. So we're going to probably experience more of that Virgo type of energy. So what does that mean? Well, just coming back to this new moon is a much more auspicious energy. We've got Mars and Jupiter currently residing in the sign of Gemini. Thoughts again. But it's in a sextile to this new moon, and a sextile is a good aspect. It's got a really Gemini vibe about it coming into this Leo new moon. So it's suggesting to be sociable, to be friendly, a really friendly vibe, to encourage us to connect with others, to collaborate with others. And it just so happens, as I like to share these stories with you about how that energy is playing out in my life, so you could maybe have a look to see where it's playing out in yours. This aspect of collaboration and connection with others, sociable and friendly. Not only am I going out tonight with my Leo friend, but this particular Leo friend, Katie, we are collaborating on a social event which starts in September, where we are offering people a space to come and be offline so that we can not only connect and have conversation and maybe learn how to do that again for some people who spend way too much time on these devices and have kind of lost the art of conversation and connecting with others. People that maybe are at home and they look around them and everybody's looking at their screens, and really what they'd like to do is have some conversation, or there is something, a pastime like reading a book or knitting or painting playing a board game, playing cards, whatever you can imagine that involves being offline. And maybe somebody really wants to get on with that, but they find themselves keep picking up that phone and the timer's gone and they've left themselves no time to do what lights them up, that brings them joy and pleasure. So we are offering a space to people to come and do that, to come and relax and chill. We're going to have some chilled out music playing in the background. Hopefully going forwards, as the event grows, we will have some evenings of music with maybe DJs playing vinyl, old school, some acoustic music, maybe having dinner together because it's being held in a local restaurant called Fate. And they have a beautiful, really interesting space upstairs. It used to be a building that was a shop called Laura Ashley for a very long time. So I can remember shopping in there. And now I'm going to be up there being sociable and collaborating in this lovely space. So you can see where this lovely sextile from Mars and Jupiter in Gemini, in this sextile to the Leo new moon, it's an auspicious feeling. I have a really good feeling about this event. We've sold a ticket already and we only put it out yesterday. It's not until September. So it's filling me up with joy and excitement of something new, a new venture, to connect with people that are maybe outside of the little bubble that I've got myself in my spiritual astrology moon world. So the Gemini air sign will kind of add some, if you think when you blow onto a fire, it increases the fire, doesn't it? So this Gemini air is going to blow its witty and charismatic and very versatile energy into the Leo fire. And we actually sat outside in the garden last night. We went for a little date night, went out for dinner at our favourite restaurant called the Cozy Club. And then we came back and we've got this fancy new fire pit. It's a Chesney smokeless fire pit in the garden. And we sat outside until 11 o'clock last night, just kind of staring at the fire and chatting. And it was really nice. And yeah, so we literally had a Leo fire going on last night. And Gemini is very versatile and mutable, and Leo is very fixed. So this Gemini air coming into Leo is allowing Leo to stop being so fixed in its ways and maybe expand out and try something a little bit new. So it's really good for social events, for intellectual conversation, for artistic activities, for a little bit of spontaneity. So where you can shine a little bit as well. So putting yourself out there, it's a good time for that. So maybe on a dark moon day, you might not feel like that, but maybe tomorrow, that new moon starting to appear again, it might bring that energy around for you. So what else can I tell you about? Talking of, creativity, 3 of my friends who are all artists in their own right are collaborating together on an event coming up in the next couple of weeks. And they're all people that wouldn't normally show themselves on camera. But because they've got this event coming up, I've seen them all stepping out of their comfort zone and maybe just starting by using their voices on a voiceover and then being filmed on camera. And it's lovely to see, again, these energies coming in and playing out and creating some change and transformation for people who would normally be a little bit shy, camera shy, who want to get their beautiful creations out into the world. So this month is really centered around showing up as your true self and wholeheartedly putting yourself into it, not for seeking any external validation, but for, to honor ourselves and allow our true self to shine through. And when we do that, we inspire others to do the same. And so by me doing this, sometimes I am my little Cancerian crab shell inside, inhibited, not wanting to come out. But my Sagittarius rising gives me a little push. And hopefully by me doing this, I'll inspire others to do the same. And I know I already have. I really do know I already have. So because we've got this Venus in Virgo, Mercury retrograde in Virgo, as I said, that's really very much, I feel like that perfectionism energy is going to start to increase. And so we need to be really aware of that and how it affects us personally. And again, if you know your birth chart, you can have a look, see where that's going to be playing out for you, in which area of life that you might tend to be a little bit more perfectionist. And the quote, this brings to mind the Marianne Williamson book, Return to Love, and a quote from that's very well known. I'm sure a lot of you have heard it before, but I am going to read it out to you, because when I read this, it really did change my life for me. And I was lucky enough to actually go and be in an audience with Marianne Williamson and meet her afterwards. And I didn't have a book to get signed, but I came across a book in the building and I picked it up and I was wondering where to pay for it. And as I turned round, Marianne herself sat down at the table to start the book signing, and I happened to be the first person in the queue. So, fortuitous. So the quote is, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Well, actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God's universe that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And so I really hope that by me getting past my fears and my internal perfectionism, because my moon is in Virgo in my birth chart, which can be quite difficult. Before I can express myself to the world, express how I feel, it kind of needs to be perfect before I can do that. And if you think back to the last episode where I was telling you about my meeting with the Lord, and he told me to stop wasting my life. It's selfish to not share your wisdom with others. Then all of this is coming to the surface to be healed and to reflect on and to do something about. And so I think a really good exercise to do for yourself, slightly uncomfortable, but a really good exercise to get you out of your comfort zone of self-promotion. So this might be a bit difficult at first, and maybe you can get one of your most unconditionally trusted friends to help you, and maybe you can help each other do it, is to write a self-promotional ad for yourself, as if maybe you were selling your car or your house or selling a product, and you want to tell everybody all the great things about it so they want to buy into it. Then sit down, get your journal out, and see if you can write an ad that includes all your gifts, all your talents, all your assets. And I was thinking about this, how can we do that? So maybe open up the cupboard, open up the boxes, go back and remember your true self, your forgotten childhood talents. Maybe put on some old tunes that bring you back to your true self, that reminds you of when you were carefree, and sell yourself to the world. And you never have to share that with anybody. You haven't really got to do anything. But it would be really interesting to sit and journal around what feelings that brought up in you, and how maybe you could do something about that. Maybe what could you do to get over those fears of self-promotion and blow your own trumpet, because this is a really good time to do that. We've got all these other things coming up. We've got a square that happens once every 10 years between Jupiter and Saturn. And that's like a bit like what we'd call Clash of the Titans. That's coming up, I think it's on the 19th of August. So I'll talk about that next week. But we have got that coming up, and a square is a challenging aspect. So really enjoy this current energy that we're in. We have got this Mercury retrograde coming up. Maybe we don't like Mercury retrograde, but we need them. It happens at least 3 times a year. We can't hide away for all that time. So, they help us to integrate our experiences and our lessons more thoroughly. It gives us that time to reintegrate, to reimagine. If you've forgotten something, so say you've gone out to the shops to buy your groceries, and you get home and you've forgotten something, and you've got to go back out again. On the way there, you might have a life-changing conversation with somebody. You might bump into the one person that makes the difference. You might go into that shop and see something that changes your diet for the better, whatever it might be. I'm being hypothetical here, but you might notice something that you missed the first time. So that's what retrogrades can be for as well. So, slow down, pay attention, spot what you might have otherwise overlooked. And, notice the opportunities that come and the insights that come, and use this more mutable energy that's Leo is experiencing to adjust yourself accordingly. And I just wanted to talk just a little bit about Venus being in Virgo. I really liked this. Venus in Virgo is the Cinderella of the zodiac. So Venus is actually in her fall in Virgo. So instead of being, when she's in Leo, she's very showy and out there, but she's just moved out of Leo into Virgo, which is much more humbling experience for Venus. It makes her a bit more reliable, and she doesn't have to go out of her way to show off anymore, to impress anybody. she marries the prince, but not for the show. So Venus in Virgo reminds us that sometimes it's our insignificant qualities and our attention to detail and genuine kindness that makes the biggest difference. You know, about that quietest voice, as I talked about last time, can make the biggest difference. Not the one who's necessarily shouting at everybody. So Venus is the ruler of all things abundant. She comes into our values, but also into the finances of things as well. It might come up, it might show up in your relationships with your loved ones. It could be family, it could be romantic relationships, but it also could relate to your earnings from whatever it is you do to earn money. So, and as I said before, you know, a more negative trait, if it gets out of hand, can be over perfectionism. You know, excessive expectations of yourself. So high achievers, watch out. You know, slow down, pay attention to how you might be having too great an expectation of yourself. So when I record these podcasts, my moon being in Virgo, it wants me to put this out perfectly. And as you all know, so far that hasn't happened. But I'm putting it out there anyway, letting go of that high expectation of myself. It can also be an extreme concern for yourself or even for others, but particularly for yourself, because we're in this Leo time. Virgo is the kingdom of Mercury, and Venus is in Mercury's kingdom. So Mercury is the planet of intellect and knowledge, trade and traveling. And Venus being there, she can't use her full power. So, you know, all of that over detailed analysis, you know, a little bit obsessive about things, OCD, being highly critical, highly cynical. Just really keep an eye out for the challenges that, once again, I say, are ultimately for you, not against you. Finally, I want to pull a card and finish on that note. And as I'm just grabbing my oracle cards to just see what message is in there for us today, just to tell you that because I've got family coming tomorrow, I normally do a ceremony on a new moon, but I will be holding an online new moon in Leo ceremony on Monday evening. So that's Monday the 5th. So that's when Mercury turns retrograde and Venus moves in. And I will be able to reveal lots more detail about all of this. And maybe you want to know where it's showing up for you. So if you get ready with your birth chart, find out what your ascendant is. That's what's zodiac sign, the first house in your birth chart is in. Look at your rising sign. And we got 2 cards come out. Yeah, I can let you know about that on that new moon ceremony. So you just go to my website, which is kellyjones.me, KELLIE.me. The links to that will be somewhere in the show notes for this. If you're watching me on YouTube, just while I remember, please could you press the like button and subscribe, because I can see people are watching but not commenting or saying anything, and it really helps me to get it out to more people. So please. And 2 cards that have just come out the royal you and a tall tail. So make sure the royal you in Leo season shows the true you and don't put out any false you at all. That's what that's saying to me. Use this Leo royal energy to step out from behind any lies that you might be telling yourself and be your true self. That is definitely what this message is saying to us all. So I hope I have authentically been myself and something in this episode has resonated with you, and I look forward to speaking with you all next week. So new moon blessings, write down your intentions, think about your wishes, and maybe put them in the fire and send the embers out to the universe and wait for the manifestation of your wishes to come around. See you all soon.